Hello, I'm Christopher Joel, and thank you for downloading the second podcast in the Speedicut Saga series, in which I will explain how I first came across Colonel Sir Jasper Speedicut. The Speedicut Papers, Book 1, Flashman's Secret. Introduction. The determination of modern biographers to strip off the shoes and socks of their subjects and expose their feet of clay is well established. But the revelation in Book 1 of the Speedicut Papers that Brigadier General Sir Harry Flashman V.C., one of the greatest heroes of the Victorian age, was nothing more than a Paris-based remittance man and a plagiarizing fraud will come as a shock to many, as will the disclosure that for 250 years there has existed a secret society at the heart of the British establishment dedicated to intervening in the affairs of the nation. These facts only emerged with the unearthing of a box buried in a Leicestershire field. But had it not been for the coincidence that I am a fan of the Flashman papers, and that for 20 years I was a public relations consultant specialising in the property sector, the Speedicut papers would not have come into my possession, and I would not have recognised them for what they are: the hitherto unpublished record of the life and times of Colonel Sir Jasper Speedicut, soldier, courtier, bisexual, and reluctant hero who, throughout his long life, was the friend of the soi-disant national hero Harry Flashman. The story begins when, some years ago, my public relations company won the account of SWAT International Developments Limited, a real estate development company based in Pakistan. One of SWAT's first acquisitions with which I had to grapple was the site of a former army barracks on the outskirts of Ashby-de-la-Zouch in Leicestershire. Thanks to my company's expertise, SWAT's steel and glass structure achieved its planning consent, and the clearance of the site commenced. Some weeks later, I received an urgent call from my client to get up to Leicestershire without delay, for it appeared that one of the demolition company's diggers had unearthed a human skeleton. By the time I got to the site, I was told by the police that their forensic expert had already established that the bones had not been buried recently. However, there were certain aspects of the human remains that were giving the police cause for concern. In particular, there was a large compression at the base of the skull. The lower arm bones had been joined behind the spine by a set of rusty iron manacles, and there were a number of other unusual items found with the skeleton, including what appeared to be the blade of a dagger, a broken mace, and a large sealed box. Some weeks later, the coroner's court announced that the remains were of a man who had been buried sometime in the early years of the 20th century. The coroner returned a verdict of unlawful killing of a male in his early 90s, identity unknown, by person or persons unknown, and the case was closed. The bones were consigned to be cremated, and the artefacts found with the skeleton were sent to the archives of the New Walk Museum in Leicester. In the course of the police investigation, the sealed box had been opened. It was found to contain a large quantity of letters and other documents, which were arranged in bundles and appeared to cover the period from the second quarter of the 19th century to the first quarter of the 20th century. The letters were from someone who signed himself Speed and were addressed to Flashy, a close associate, judging by the tone of the letters, so the inspector said. The police had read a couple of the letters, but then rejected them as evidence and resealed the box. Given all the other issues with which I was grappling on behalf of my highly emotional client, I gave no further thought to the Ashby find. It was only in mid-2010 that my thoughts returned to the cache in the Leicester Museum's storage department, and I requested permission to examine them. It quickly emerged that, taken together, they were a detailed account, in the form of letters, reports, and newspaper cuttings stretching over 80 years or so, of the life of the man signing himself Speed. I also recognised that at least some of the narrative, and the references in the letter, bore a striking resemblance to the accounts of his life given by Brigadier General Sir Harry Flashman in the Flashman papers. From that discovery, it was easy for anyone who, like me, had read either Tom Brown's School Days or the Flashman papers, to hazard a good guess that Flashy was Harry Flashman, the rugby school bully, and Speed was his partner in crime, Speedicut. The narrative which follows in this and the subsequent volumes of the Speedicut papers draws principally upon the Leicestershire find, although I have omitted the utterly deplorable early letters written by Speedicut to Flashman from Rugby School. If you're interested, you can find them in the appendix to Book 1 of the Speedicut papers. This and the other volumes in the series are available to purchase at Amazon. And more information about Speedicut is available at my website, christopherjoel.com.